landscape here, and we have something incredibly with incredible depth, really, really three-dimensional, and this is two-dimensional paper. And we've spoken about that already when we did linear perspective. So linear perspective helps us get buildings and structures with those lines, so linear for lines. Creates an illusion of three dimensions on the page. And today we're going to be dealing with a landscape, and we want to create the illusion of three dimensions on the page. But we're not going to use linear perspective, comes in a little bit, but not nearly as much. We're going to use something called aerial perspective. And maybe in some books they call it atmospheric perspective. It's the same thing. Okay. So it's basically the same as linear perspective. Somebody came up with sort of a set of rules that help us create that illusion of depth. And I think the paintings that have a sense of depth are the best ones. You know, the ones that don't look super, super flat. And if anything, you can exaggerate it. You know, if you look at something here and you exaggerate that sense of depth, you know, I think that really, really works well. Right, this is what we want to picture. First of all, you need to turn off your brain that says, I know what's happening here. Particularly if it's a scene that you drive through. I know at home we have hills that are really, really brown. They're covered in tussocks. And you drive past them close up and they look brown. But then when you sit at a distance, you want to paint them brown. Meanwhile, they're far, far away. They're not actually brown anymore, all right? And the reason why they're not brown is this is sort of how I think about it. Imagine you're looking at this landscape and we've got a whole lot of lace curtains, all right? So we've got, say, just behind the bridge, we've got a lace curtain, and then a little bit further along we've got another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, until right in the back. Those lace curtains obscure the detail as you go further away, all right? And that lace curtain is just the atmosphere. It's just the atmosphere there's hardly much atmosphere between us and the bridge. There's more and more and more atmosphere as you go further back. All right. So does that make sense? This idea of these lace curtains, one after the other. And it applies to the sky as well. We'll get to that. So in order to create a sense of depth, I'm going to write it here. Scrappy piece of paper. The first thing you want to look at is things that are further away are cooler in color. Right? Does everyone know what cooler in color means? It means they're bluer. So look at that back hill, the very, very far one. It's much bluer in color. As you come forward, you start getting all the yellows and the greens and the reds. So the coolest color is blue, the warmest color is yellow. Red swings both ways. Okay. So far away, cooler in color. Ooh, that's gonna, can you see that? Anyway, I'm going to write them here so that you can refer to them. Cooler in color. So save your yellows and your reds for the foreground. The next thing is to do with contrast. So contrast has got to do with your darks and your lights. So the further away you go, the less contrast there is. The less contrast there is between dark and light. Look at that far hill. It's just a haze of blue. But when you come to the bridge here, or underneath those trees on the other side of the bridge, there's super darks and super lights. So as you go back, hardly, not much contrast. Detail. Okay. As you go further away, less and less detail. So if I see you picking up a tiny brush for that back hill, I'll send you into the corner. Big brushes for the, well, Sylvia knows where the corner is. Big brushes for the background, and then if you want to, you can get your tiny brushes here for the front trees and the bridge and so on. Hardly any detail. Look at that back hill. We can't, even though we know it's probably made out of all this forest, the same forest, can't see that, all right? So don't put it in, even though your brain says to you, oh, that hill's covered in forest. Okay, so no detail. And then I just refer to the notes, that's the last one. Oh, yes.
You're going to work there.
Okay. Things in the distance are much paler. So all your intense colors are here in the foreground, and the back is super, super pale. All right, so things in the distance have much cooler colors, all your blues in the distance. save your yellows and reds and your greens here for the foreground. Okay? Less detail, so big brushes for the back, hardly any detail. And as you come forward, more and more and more detail. And then we want to have a lot more contrast. So your darkest dark against your lightest light here in the foreground. And there the contrast between that back and then paler as well. Okay. And if you follow these rules, you will get a sense of depth in your painting, an illusion of a sense of depth. It's not actually a sense of depth because the paper's still two-dimensional. Okay. So set up your bits and pieces, and we're going to do this step by step like we normally do. So we'll start with the pencil, and I'll help you along. Just make sure that you try and shadow your page with your body, so that you're not getting too much glare off the white paper.